Hello everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, they can hear me. Good. I need to get set up here. Thank you for responding. We'll turn the video on just for a minute. Ian, I'm turning mine on.
There I am.
There you are.
Right.
Well, I hope everybody's doing well in this crazy market. It looks like we're resting after 3 days of massive up moves, but we're going to talk about the market. Ian's going to go through his again, and we're going to intersperse HGSI at the same time to show you how you can look at a lot of things with HGSI with the intraday. So why don't we turn off the video? Ian, you haven't said anything.
No. It's nice to have you aboard. Got a nice crowd today. We've got at 60 at the moment and expecting to double that with luck. At any rate, nice to have you here.
Okay, I'm going to turn off my video.
Right. Gone.
Okay.
So let me get started. All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So look how things change. This went out faithfully on the 15th. And look, the key slide is no bottom in sight at this point, but be patient. And fortunately, Ron had caught the fact that the stock futures were up that day on Monday, which was a holiday, and Germany was up 2.5%. So we expected a strong open on Tuesday, and true enough, Tuesday and Wednesday, and here we are on Thursday, and you won't recognize the slides that we have. So we're going to ping pong back and forth and show you some updates as we go along. All right, let's move down to the next slide.
Do you see it?
No. There we are.
Okay.
That's it. It's there. All right, here's the usual business, and we're looking at the barometer, and we were down 16% from the high. So essentially heading for a bear market. And I don't need to spend time on all of that, but as you can see, I have red dotted lines on the right showing where each of the 8 market indices sit relative to a bear market. And as you can see, the 2 that were in the worst hole was the Russell 2000, as you'd expect, and the S&P 400. And then, of course, those that have corrected the least, except for the NASDAQ, by the way, which was moved from about a 12% down to certainly an intermediate correction in the meantime. But by and large, still waiting to see if in fact we can have a decent recovery, or that we're going to slide and move again and go down. So we'll see how it goes, but it's in a matter of 5 days, 5 or 6 days, we're back up to the recent highs of each of the market indices. So yeah, let's move on down.
It's rallying now, Ian.
Rallying. Yes, there we go. I mean, the Dow is up 11 points. The NASDAQ is the one who's the worst. It's 20 down, 20 points down. And as you can see, there was the move back up. The only one that's different from the others is the NASDAQ, and I showed it as of the last 2 days because there was in fact a blip in it, and I couldn't show the proper scale. But now, as you look at that, just get your BDIs to the tops of each of those, and we're back at that level, mind you, in a matter of 2 days, 3 days, if that, yes. Yeah. So things are very wibbly-wobbly, unfortunately. The question is, do we go further from here and have a full recovery, or no, we'll slide back again. And canaries, of course, have been in the same situation. And maybe we should stop here and very quickly ping pong back to HGSI, and Ron can show us where we sit on some of these.
Okay, I'm going to use HGSI and
Yes.
Thinkorswim. Let's use Thinkorswim just right. I just
Oh,
want to show you what's happened here. This is a 1 minute chart here, so you can see over the last 15 minutes we were down here and it rallied. These are comparative tick charts. You can see that they've all turned up now. These are going down, the Russell and the NASDAQ, and everything's turned up now. So these are the futures prices right here. But what I'm looking at over here, this is the ES, and let me go to the SPX, since everybody on Wall Street primarily looks at the SPX. We don't have volume for the SPX, but look at the last 15 minutes how it's charged up. So it's looking for a sense of direction here. I'm thinking that until it breaks past 1950 here, you know, we're just in this lower trading range. It's going to have to get up here to 1950 where I have my alerts set up. Now in Thinkorswim, I put alerts on a lot of things, and they are texted to me and emailed to me when those occur, because I'm not always sitting at this computer. Everybody thinks I am, but I do take breaks and do other things. So these alerts are very handy, and if that happens, then I think there's a good chance that we're going to go quite a bit higher. And I pointed out in the morning report, let me make this yellow, that these indexes are forming what we call a W bottom. I should have drawn that other arrow a little bit lower, but here is the W, and if it breaks past resistance, then that W is formed, and I think there's a good chance we're going to go higher, especially if it's confirmed with volume. Now the volume's been strong recently, and today you can see that it opened here, traded down to this point, and now it's working its way back up. And since I don't have volume on this chart, it's hard to tell. And looking at another computer off to my right, it's the NASDAQ's at 1.32 billion now. If this bar, this candle, turns into a low volume test, and I'm talking VPA language now, that's a positive sign for the markets. It just means there isn't a lot of selling if it pulls back on light volume. Okay, let's look down. Let me look down here again. Look how this NYSE is taking off. There's a lot going on in that index, and I don't know what's going on, but what you can do in HGSI, and this is just one of the many powerful aspects of this program. Let me find I'm just going to move this out of, actually, I'm going to close this so it updates faster. I'm going to go into my designer, and I'm going to go up here to the reference groups, to the major market index components, and I'm just going, since the NYSE was moving up sharply, this is updating every 5 minutes. So I have prices within the last 5 minutes, but I can get it up to date by going into intraday and select update intraday now. What that's doing, it's pulling down the stock prices from 15 minutes ago. And then what we're going to get out of this is an index that's only 15 minutes old. So I'm going to just go back to this folder. Matt put this in, rebuild indexes and groups. And now what I'm doing is I'm rebuilding these indexes these three indexes, or four indexes, all securities in there too, with data that's only 15 minutes old. You don't have to run through a complete update. You can just update the indexes if you want to get a feel for what these indexes are doing. So the market rallied sharply in the last 15 minutes. I showed you that in Thinkorswim, but we can still get a very good feel here for what's going on. Now this is that chart that I included in the VPA update with accumulation, but that's not the chart I want to look at. I want to go in to my Woodward and Brown and go to folder number 2. You can play this video back. I know I'm going pretty quickly, but I just want to show you. I like to use this 10A chart now. This is in there with the latest Woodward and Brown update. Now, I'm looking at the all NYSE, and you can see that this bar pretty much reflects what's going on today. This is a trend. This is colored according to the trend, and the trend has turned. It's hard to see here because it's kind of running into that, but the short-term trend is up, and their intermediate-term trend is now up using those VPA indicators. Now this is what's going on today. It's a 50-50 split, pretty much. The advancers divided by the decliners is 103, so it's slightly positive. But I mean, this is valuable information that you can get out of HGSI at any time by doing an update if you want to do an update throughout the trading session. And there are a lot of other charts in here in this list. Let me just see if I want to show you anything else right now. Okay, here is this one right here is a chart that's been in this program a long time, and it's really a good visual of an index, and it shows you the percentage of, and this is all NYSE. Let's go to all securities instead. And then I'll bring up this view by hitting my alternate I keys. And what this does is it tells us the percentage of the stocks, put my crosshair on here, that are over above their 20-day moving average, the 30-day moving average. These are the percentages. So 61.25% are now above the 20-day moving average. 30-day moving average 53.66, above the 50 33.73, and 21.94 above the 200-day moving average. Now notice the 200-day number, blue line, is below its moving average, and that just kind of shows you how weak this market has been for quite some time, because when in the past, this was a pretty good long-term buy signal when the blue line went above the moving average, and it has been drifting down for a long time. I don't mean, this is an overall signal. It has nothing to do with sectors and groups and so on. You can apply this to sectors and groups. What I want to show you here, though, is in the past few days. So this number of stocks above the 20-day moving average is now 61.25. And down here, it was only 24.62, so it has moved up dramatically. Now, the number you're probably more familiar with is the 50-day moving average, a percent above the 50 or 200. 1708 back here at the bottom, and now out of the all securities, 53.66% have moved above the, I'm sorry, that's a 30. 33.77 have moved above the 50. So that's a dramatic increase in just a few days, and you can see by the slope of this. Now, I don't want to prolong this. There are a lot of index charts in here that are really valuable. Oh, one I do want to show you though. Ian, you like to use the, I didn't update the S&P 1500 though. Let's use this and go to the 4A chart. Ian, you want to talk to this?
Oh, no, go ahead. That's fine. You can see
Okay.
immediately that things are changing in terms of green getting up through red.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk a lot about accumulation acceleration today in groups and stocks, and you can see that we've gone from E distribution up at this point, and then it turned to D, and now we're in C, and at the same time, the A's and B's on the all securities index, and it's like this on the S&P 1500 too, because I looked at that earlier. The green has gone up through the red, and the A's are going up through the E's. And we had a eureka the other day.
Ah, a strong eureka.
Yeah, so, you know, things have improved dramatically, but like I said a few minutes ago, unless we get through that that level on the S&P, the what was it, the 1950, I think, this thing could just as easily fall back as go higher. So I'm still not convinced. Anyway, let's, Ian, you want to go? You have more to do on your PDF, don't you?
Yeah, let's get back. That's right. So that gives you a quick synopsis of what's changed, and in effect, what we have here is that things are looking better, but we have to wait and see because we're now at the recent old highs of 8 or 10 days ago, as we showed you, and now the question is, do we go higher or do we flop back again? So let's go down to the next slide.
Okay, we'll come back and look at a few canaries live.
Yeah, the canaries, of course, have gone back up again.
Hold it, I'm stalling out here a little bit. Is this where you want to go?
Yes, that's lovely. I keep drumming on this one to make sure that you understand one very important point. And those of you who've seen this are saying, come on, Ian, move on. But look, there are many newbies here. And really what this is saying is, by and large, both for the NASDAQ and for the S&P 500, if it goes down less than 8%, or thereabouts, it will invariably bounce back. But heaven help you if it gets beyond minus 8% from its high. Look at it, it can land anywhere. And so the pivot point, if you like, for measuring when things are in trouble is minus 8%. Now, of course, as you well know, a bear market is minus 20%, but nonetheless, that's what you've got to watch for. All right, so let's move on down.
Okay, we'll go look at where they stand as of last night.
Sure. And here's the folklore all put in for you. And the folklore, of course, represents the presidential cycle, which is 4 years. And as you can see, by and large, the second year of a presidential cycle is when you see the biggest corrections. And I've popped in now the most recent flash crashes, as you can see by their dates, August 25th and more recently the ones in January and February. And lo and behold, we're at minus 18% on the NASDAQ. And if we come down, minus 16, I think. Yes, that's what the bottom chart shows.
It was at that time. We'll take a look at the current.
That's right. It's all bounced back now. But essentially, as you can see, things have died, and now we're bouncing. Now the question is, how good a bounce? Will it last and get us back up to old highs? Oh, no, we have to persevere with yet another drop back. And if we move on down, the quickest way to understand what's happening is to understand the underlying strength of the market, which is what we call percent A plus B versus D plus E. Yeah, it's a busy chart, but it doesn't take you 5 seconds to look at the greens and the reds. And the greens are percent A plus B versus the reds, which is D plus E. And as you can see, I put an arrow there, and essentially we want to see A plus B above 40%. It's a long way from that. And D plus E below 30%. So we'll look at that as well.
Okay, where are we here, Ian? This is what we were just looking at in HGSI.
That's right, and it's changed, you see. Look how it's changed.
Okay,
A
here
plus
are the
B,
numbers.
There you go. There. So things are looking up. I mean, we at long last have A plus B above D plus E. And that's all important. Because
but you want this at 40, right, Ian?
Right. But it's on its way at least. And what's more important is that they've flip-flopped. The D and E is now below the A and B. So that's looking encouraging. That's all important because until you have these underlying pieces showing some strength, you know that the bulls are hesitant to move back in. And this is the first time we're seeing it. Now look at the bottom chart here. I mean, we've put up since Thanksgiving with all that red. And I'm preaching to the choir, but you know it was a rotten time from Thanksgiving onwards. And at long last, we seem to at least have something that's perking up. Let's move on down.
Okay.
And there you are. As you can see, what killed it was 3 buckets down. You get 3 buckets down in a day, and by heavens, you have to start all over again. And in essence, that's what happened over a week ago. Now things are looking up again, and we want to get up to above 0.8. Why do I say that? Just cast your beady eyes between 0.7 and 0.8, and you can see that's the highest we've been in over 3 months. We want percent B to now move up strong. And of course, the bottom chart with the 12 drummers drumming, what is that, Ian? Come on, say the newbies. Well, what that shows is the consecutive days that the market has gone up or down. And in this case, the market is represented by the S&P 1500. And if you cast your beady eyes to the right-hand side, you can see there are longer down periods than there are up periods. So that has shown no strength. Now at long last, hopefully we've begun to see some sort of life. And that's what you're looking for. Too early yet, too early to say that we have in fact a strong move, but nonetheless at least encouraging. That's the word right now. Let's move on down. And last but not least, the business of the jobs report. Every month this beast comes out and I choose to show it. And you're going to say, come on, Ian, jobs reports are fiddled. Yes, of course they are. But nonetheless, it's all relative. And if, in fact, you relate to last year and see whether it's up or down from last year, at least you've got a guide. Well, we've got 1 month into this year. And there it is, ho-hum, but nonetheless, not terrible. However, that was greeted with a down move. That jobs report last week created that blooming 3 buckets down. So we've got to wait and see. But what's the bottom line? The bottom line is we want in this year to see at least 3 months out of the 12 where in fact the jobs report says 300 points, 300,000 jobs or better. And by heavens, that's what we're going to measure. So that gives it to you in a nutshell. And now let's go look at the details from Ron.
Okay. Do you want to look at any more market stuff?
Yes. Very quickly, if you like.
What would you like to look at? The S&P 1500?
You got it. And why? Okay. Because, of course, gives you 1,500 stocks to look at.
Okay, let me show you how to do this. I'm just clicking on the S&P 1500. I go up to Tools. I select Rebuild Indexes in Group, and it just rebuilt the S&P 1500, and that's with data that's 5 minutes old.
Yes.
So you just have to click on the single folder and do that. Now I have to find the index. It will be up here, and I'll just click on that. So now we're looking at the S&P 1500 from 15 minutes ago. And go ahead, Ian.
And things are looking up. I mean, look at that second window. Yeah, that's the fellow. A plus B versus D plus E. And, we're beginning to see some life. That's what you're looking for. And what gave it some life was that eureka shot in the arm 3 days ago. That's the fellow. You got to keep a beady eye on that.
And it corresponded with that effort to rise, Ian.
Effort to rise, exactly. And that's it in a nutshell. So you can see all this stuff without going through all that paraphernalia that I do. But nonetheless, I like to look at the details night by night so that at least I'm on top of the market. Here you can be on top of the market with just a few pictures. And this one is most important.
He likes to punish himself.
Right.
By going through all that. You don't have to do it.
No, you don't. But let me tell you, and she's on, faithfully on, watching me, and she knows it's coming. Pat Turner was the one who got me out of a pickle over 10 years ago when I was stuck in terms of what do I get out of it? And she gave me these wonderful pictures that I showed you in terms of how to measure the insides of the market.
Now you can see this W forming here also.
But more importantly, as you see that, look, he's just drawn that line, and now if he goes one higher, he can see that resistance is at 105. And so you got at least 7 or 8 points to go to that next level. Yeah.
Okay, now let's look at a few other things with the S&P 1500 while we're in here, if you want to. Let's go back to this 10A. And you can see today the market's looking for a direction because it's about flat. It's slightly less than, one is totally flat, it's 0.93. But we've had some signals in here, and the accumulation is picking up. This is the advanced decline line right here. You can see that it's been going up, and this is a percent above the 50-day moving average. You have all these charts, and if you want to get a good feel for the market, you should use them on any HGSI index. I think that's all we need to show. Can you think of anything else?
Well, we might just draw that line at 105 because at this point in time, the bulls are reluctant to come in like gangbusters. Do you see that resistance up at 105?
Were you talking about in here?
There, that's it. There, that's it, exactly.
What was support
so
before?
We're sitting at about 100, and we can go to 105 in a wink. And that's the wink that you want. You want to see the bulls saying, hey, let's get in there and move. Or alternatively, we're going to flop back again. So it's too early to make a call for the longer term. But the short-term people, those who are type 2s, as I call them, who are in for opportunities of a day or, a few days, I should say, they've got a fighting chance at this stage. Let's see.
Okay, well, if that's it.
You might show Morales and Kacha, the Gil Morales chart, because he, of course, those of you who are Morales types, would like to see under Woodward and Brown, Ian Woodward, classic Woodward.
Yeah, I can't see anything today. There it is.
Ah, lovely. Now, the second one down ought to be it.
The second? No, this one, isn't it?
That's lovely. That's all right. You take the second one as well. But that's fine. Now you see, there is no, that's it. That's fine. There are no pocket pivots shown, but nonetheless, things are looking a little better.
Well, and that's because the up volume hasn't surpassed these down volume bars
Exactly,
right
yes.
here. You know,
There you
in the
go.
last 5 days, it would have to get above
That's
that
right.
to
Lovely.
generate a positive pocket pivot.
Right.
It just hasn't done it.
So that's it.
Okay, well, thanks, Ian.
Yeah, move on.
Yeah,
That's lovely.
yeah, you know, chime in if you have anything to say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let's move on to the other. Somebody said the sound stopped. Gary Rosen did. Can everybody else hear me? Okay, everybody else. George, could you write to Gary Rosen, tell him to log off and log back in, please? It's
It's
got to
already
be
been
on
done,
his
Ron.
end.
It's already been done.
Oh, you're a good man. Okay, well, thank you. I just noticed that, and he probably put it up there a while ago. Anyway, let me get started on my part. Uh, this is all part of the new process of updating. Now I see Steve Mayer's on. He wrote me a note and said he's having problems with this. It's really very, very simple. And I sent out an attachment early to the newsletter and daily report subscribers. They get everything first. And now George put it up. It's available for the public or for the rest of the HGSI users up here if I can locate this. Steve, all you have to do now, and anybody else, not just Steve, just go to your help menu, select add-ons, and it'll take you directly to this page. And what you're going to do next is you're going down to this is the one that was just updated. I did it on February 13th. And the reason Matt and George put this in for me is that when I do new work or come up with new ideas, I don't want to wait the 3 months to put some of that information up there. So you can get it as soon as I'm ready to release it. Now, in this instance, to the subscribers, I sent out an attachment to save and so on. But now that it's up here for everyone, all you have to do is click on download zip file and download it. And I'm not going to install it, but I'll show you what you do after you download it. You just save it, and then there it is right there on in my download folder. And then you just go to the preferences menu and select install add-ons, and then you just locate that file. There it is right there, and open it. I guess it won't hurt anything if I overwrite what I have. I don't think I've changed anything, so I'll just go ahead and do it. Then you're going to get this message. Add-ons have been installed. HGSI will now restart to import them. So it restarts, and then you get a message that new system files are available to upgrade your current views, filters, combos, etc. It's going to override anything. So if I've changed anything, it's going to be overwritten. And then, let me get this out of the way and give you a blue background. In the warehouse views, you're going to find this folder. It's going to have a date on it. This is the most recent one. You're also going to have another folder without a date. I want you to delete that folder to avoid confusion. And to do that, all you have to do is click up here on the Choose Create Views. And I don't have anything to delete now because they're gone, but it's this here, that icon there, and you're just going to click on your folder and you're just going to hit delete and it'll go away. And then you do the same thing with the charts. So when I bring up a chart here, okay, I don't have any favorite charts in there now, so that did change, but that's fine, I'll fix that. Okay, so on the charting menu, you're going to have a new folder also. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the warehouse views. Let me bring a chart up to avoid confusion here. In the charting menu, Quick Pick Charting Views, you're going to have a folder dated with the same date, and you're going to have one that doesn't have a date. Delete the ones without a date. No, you don't need WinZip. You're trying to unzip those, Steve, and you don't do that. Just follow this process. Go to Preferences, download it, install add-ons. It's going to unzip it for you and put it. You do not need WinZip. HGSI takes care of it. So I don't know what you're doing wrong. If you can't figure it out after watching this again, I'll help you. You will have to hook up tomorrow. But it's really a simple process. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with what I did today, or this time, not today. I'll just go to All Securities. And in this new folder, in the warehouse views, folder number 12 is what's new. And what I'm attempting to do is add accumulation, acceleration, and accumulation deceleration, and I use those terms because what it's doing, it's picking up stocks as they move up from C. Here's accumulation distribution. It has to be a minimum of C up to either B or A. And then they're going to appear in this view. Now I did 4 views. This is accumulation acceleration. This is accumulation deceleration. And these are for stocks and groups. You can use these other 2 for ETFs or anything else. You can use indexes, but the indexes will come through the first 2 also, and I'm going to show you that here in a minute. In fact, we'll update the groups, and we'll see what groups, if any, are moving up today. But I want to go in here and show you what's in this folder. I put it in the written portion of the newsletter, and I'll talk a little bit about my thought process. Is John Goble on? John Goble's been after me to do something like this for years, and there's John Goble. Okay, John, this is for you. And I hope it works. You know, this could be modified down the line too, and that's the advantage of the ability to update these add-ons. If I make some small tweaks, I can just post them and send everybody an email and say, okay, update your files and you'll have the latest. And this dollar price tag is really low, but some people like to look at inexpensive stocks, $1 and $2 stocks, trading at least 100,000 shares based on the 50-day moving average. Now, originally in this filter, I had not only AD direction having to be above 0, but I had accumulation itself having to be above 0, and that was too slow. And I'll show you on the chart what these do. So I want the AD direction going up, the percent AD velocity, that's the velocity of the accumulation, and the velocity direction. All of these are above 0. My minimum accumulation is C, and my maximum is A. Generally, it's going to go from C to B. Sometimes it'll jump all the way to A, but as you can see, there are A's in here with these other requirements all met in these columns. So everything's green. This is from last night. This isn't from today. And then a group rank greater than 0, make sure that these are assigned to groups. And the white body equals yes. I wanted to see stocks that had a white body rather than a neutral or a black body. In other words, it's a bullish candle. And then the combo is the percentage price change 1 day to group these together. So when I sort on raw combo, at the end of the day, I can see groups that are moving up together. This is the industry percentage price change one day. You can see that precious metals and mining were up 4.07% yesterday, followed by transaction management systems, whatever that is, measurement instruments, computer hardware, and so on. Now, the deceleration is just the opposite filter, so I'm not going to show you that filter. We'll spend time on this since the market's kind of in a bullish tone right now. But you can see that everything is green all the way down. And yesterday was such a strong day that 622 stocks passed this. Now, if you want a quick read on the groups, you can use the pie chart and go down to industry, and to get a better view, a more selective view, use the major industries, and you have a pie chart. And you can see that biotech and pharma were under accumulation yesterday, as were oil, gas, and coal, media, hardware, and so on. You can even do it at the sector level. Yesterday, 16.4% of these stocks, what this represents are the stocks that are in the warehouse view that are passing this. It doesn't represent all securities. It says all securities, but there are 622 which match this number over here. So this pie chart, what it does is it grabs the information from the warehouse view and it gives it to us in pictorial form. Well, Sam, didn't I use greater than or equal to C? Is that what you're saying? It has to be, or C's wouldn't be showing up here. Greater than or equal to C. Is that what you meant? Anyway, so all of these groups were showing accumulation yesterday, and we can tell which groups are the strongest by looking at this industry. I had an A reference. Yeah, I did. Yeah, greater than C would work. Yeah, that's true. Originally, I had less greater than equal to a C and less than or equal to B, and I widened it, so I just changed it to A. Yeah, you could just have greater than a C. That's right. All Sam's saying is I didn't have to add that other line right here. That could be eliminated. But as I said, I had it B, and I just changed the B to A, and I left it in there. It's not that big a deal. No, it shouldn't be needed, but it's in there. Maybe I'll take it out sometime. But you understand why it's in there, because I was using B, and then I started experimenting, and I wanted the A's to pass through too. So maybe I'll go back to B sometime, and it's already in there. I don't know. Or you could do just A's and B. Anyway, I don't want to get bogged down on this. You can see there were REITs that were moving up yesterday. I said in my morning report that the airlines had been showing accumulation too. Now, using this view and the end-of-day data, this serves a couple of purposes. Well, but the primary purpose is we can see which of these stocks were showing accumulation and which one of these are following through. So we can see that the precious metal stocks were all showing accumulation yesterday, and all of them but one are continuing to go up. Same for transaction management. Looks like measuring instruments are going up too. Just look at this column over here. You can see the ones that are going up, and as I scroll down, you can see which ones are going down. Now, I believe that if we go into the slices, I'm going to load a custom slice. And I'm going to pick number 3. I haven't used this for a while. Let's see if this works. This tells me out of these 622 stocks, which of the stocks which have been under accumulation are moving these percentages. And you can see that 10 stocks out of the 622 are up more than 10% today. So some of these that were under accumulation are moving up sharply. And if you just click on that slice and go down here, you can see which of those stocks were. No, Sam, you weren't missing anything. You caught it. And that's fine. It works the same. But, you know, I'm certainly open to having stuff pointed out to me because it'll work either way. Okay, so some of these, but more than 10%, only 5 are down, unchanged 6, and so on. But these slices are very, very powerful to give you a quick read on what's going on. But the fact that 11 of these that were under accumulation have followed through more than 10%, that's quite a move in a mixed market day. Let's bring them one of these up. I know the shipping stocks have been moving. And here is TK Shipping. And let's just look at this. Why don't I make it full so we can see it better? Yeah, John, you can do secondary sorts on VPA trends, sure. I just didn't get to that. But anyway, let's look at this. You can see that this stock is beaten down. I'm going to do a close-up zoom here. This must have been an earnings announcement or something on very heavy volume. But look at all of these VPA accumulation flags or alerts, as I'm calling them. I'm trying to refrain from calling them signals because they aren't necessarily a signal, but they do alert us to what's going on. Now, this stock has been under accumulation according to these VPA alerts for a long time, but this, according to my filter that I generated, and it's up there for you now, it really didn't start showing the accumulation to meet those requirements until the 16th. That's my crosshair right here, but it hadn't moved much. Yet if we look back here, you can see that there were multiple days where this stock was not going any lower. It doesn't look like. I mean, it traded in a range here. But today, as I look at this, the change today, because this is so compressed, it's hard to tell, but this is up 18.54% today. And the warning, the accumulation signs started coming in on this stock back on the 16th, and what are we on the 18th today? So that is an example of how this works. They don't all work this well, I'll tell you that right now. Some are late, but I think it's going to be a good addition when you combine it with the VPA. And notice as I come back here, and here is the stock right here, TK Shipping in the Marine Shipping Index. Notice that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stocks under accumulation yesterday. Now, not all of them are going up today. It looks like only 2 of them are going up. But here's where all the requirements were met. When all of these are green, and it's either a B or a C, it means they're moving up. Now, TK, it's only at C accumulation so far. Oops, I wanted the arrow. It's yellow. But that's all we need. Now, in the past, you know, we may have wanted to wait to see until B accumulation came up, or even A. There's really no need to do that anymore because we can see this acceleration coming in to these stocks. Now let me check my list here. I have a list, and I've done several of these already. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to go. I want to show you how you can do this intraday. Now, if you want later in the day, especially like now, you could do a full update. On my computer, it takes 4 to 6 minutes. I know some of you have faster computers, and I know a lot of you have very slow computers too. But you don't really need to do a complete update if you do this. Let's go back. I'll close this. I want to go back to the designer. I'm going to go to the industries and sectors. I'm clicking on the industries. I'm going to do an update. I'm downloading the intraday update right now. Okay, so as of 5 minutes ago, or 15 minutes ago, those were the current prices. Now I'm going to right mouse click on the industries. I'm going up to that tools bar again. I'm going to rebuild indexes in groups, and I'm rebuilding the industry groups only. I don't have to do a complete update. And as you can see, this takes no time at all. Now I'm going back to my accumulation views, and what I did is I clicked on this icon to activate the the filter, not the mouse. And what we have here are indexes as of 15 minutes ago that are showing signs of accumulation. We can also look over here and we can see the days since the last signal. Here's computer hardware and storage. So all of these indexes are meeting the accumulation requirement. Now, it was doing it over here also, and then we had that sharp move down, and because it went down so sharply and the volume really wasn't building that much until yesterday, we did get 2 efforts to rise though. So accumulation can be slow. It's a slower moving indicators. But when a stock or an index is basing sideways for a long time, just like on that the stock that I showed initially, there was a long base there, and then when the accumulation kicks in, it's going to show up faster. But here, there was a sharp move down, and then it had to reverse itself. But you can be looking for these VPA signals too. There were 2 efforts to rise back to back, and we were already in C accumulation. But the reason it didn't generate a VPA signal was because the either the direction of the accumulation or the direction of the velocity and the velocity itself were not above the blue line. So sometimes it's lagging, especially after a sharp move down. But when they're, like I said, when there's a longer base, you're going to see these react quicker. So if we see stocks that are basing for a long period of time and see multiple VPA signals like on that example, that's a pretty good indication that they're under accumulation. Okay, so what do we do here? We change to the industry group and we go top down. And now I can see which of these stocks is under accumulation. You can see that they're all green here. Brocade was up sharply earlier today. But look at this. This one started showing accumulation clear back here before it even began to move. There was, on the same day, a strength seen returning after a downtrend. That's what this alert was. Then here is a confirmation of that alert with an effort to rise and another one. Then we had a gap up, and now you can see that with this transfer of ownership, what that means is they're selling it off, they're taking profits. Not necessarily selling it off so much, but this may be a viable gap. This one, I'd have to go look at the news, but this one should go on a watch list. That's a tremendous move. What is the move today? 13.38% as of 15 minutes ago. And look at the volume that came into this. But this is a signal that's generated right now because there's some profit taking going on. But I would stick this, quick add to group, choose, new, 2016-02-18, that's today. Going to stick it in there. I'll take a look at it in the future. Okay, let's look at some of these others. The reason I built the filters so that the indexes would come through, by the way, is I wanted to be able to see what the signals are on the indexes in addition to the stocks that are in those groups. Now, Hewlett-Packard is also here. Now, when did it start? Okay, here is where it started, or it gave the signal with the C, and then here's the visual filter backtest because the requirements were met that I pointed out in the filter. Now before that, you can see that the group was moving up sharply, and here was an effort to rise indicator right here, and there's another confirmation today. Boy, I didn't realize that Hewlett-Packard, is this right? Hewlett-Packard's a $10 stock. Why? I had no idea it had fallen that far. I don't pay any attention to it. Now let's do a medium zoom on this. And one thing I want to point out here. Okay. I'm finding that, okay, here it was decelerating, as you can see, and then we had the big spike up, the accumulation, and then it moved up from there. Well, there was a rose, that was a deceleration there too. But then when it got here, here is 1. You can see that it went to D distribution and E distribution, more confirming VFBs, and it pretty much kept somebody short, if they were short in this stock, or in this stock in particular, on the correct side of the market. Now we're getting some mixed signals here. Here it went to C, but notice that it did not generate a signal because all of the conditions were not met. If I bring this up, and you can see that the direction of, it looks like the direction of the accumulation bar was not up, it was neutral. So all 3 of those conditions have to be met. I don't know, as I go along I may change these a little bit, but for now I think it works pretty well. Ghana says they split into 2 companies. What's the other company, Ghana? HPE. Well, what does that look like? I have not followed that company for a long time. Oh, I see. Well, it doesn't look a lot better, does it? It's a $13 stock. All right, let's look at NetApp. Okay, now here we go again. Stock, it's based quite a ways, quite a bit, going sideways. I'll zoom in. On a close-up zoom, you can see that there are multiple. Here's a test for supply. Here's a test for supply. Here's a test and an effort to rise. And notice that it never did get below that low, did it? Well, right here it did, temporarily. It didn't get below this test low over here, though. See, that low is not below that, and then there was an effort to rise, and before that effort to rise occurred, this turned green because all the conditions were met, and we went from D distribution to C accumulation. So the combination of accumulation and the VPA in these instances that I'm showing you works pretty well. so far. But what I'm showing you here is that you can do this during the day. Another thing you can do is remove the filter and see what else is in this group. To remove the filter, I held my shift key and clicked on this filter icon over here. That brings everything that's in the group into play, and that way you can see if other stocks that may not be generating the accumulation signals are moving up. Now here's one, Nimble Storage, that's up. I don't know anything about this stock either. It's up almost 5% today, but notice that it has not generated an accumulation signal up here. In fact, both of these lines are still below their zero lines or blue lines. Still D distribution coming from E to D. It's showing a little sign of life. Don't know anything about it. Okay. Let's look at the report. Flash optimized hybrid storage platform. Okay, anyway, you can possibly find stocks that are not yet moving, or they're moving up today on heavier volume. Here's one that the percent volume to the 50-day moving average is almost 1,500%. It looks like it is meeting the requirements. Let's just take a look at it. No, not interested. This one, look at all the false starts on this one. You can tell that by the wicks. Every time they try to take it up, they take profits. Another one today. I am signed into Google Drive. I don't know why that came up, but okay. So let's go back here. I want to go back to my industry groups, and I want to reapply this filter, and you can look and see what else is in here. Here's semiconductor manufacturing. The semis have been really strong the past several days, both the manufacturing and the devices, and it's going up again today. Well, it looks like it's stalling out a little bit now. But here's what I mean. Now this one started showing accumulation a couple of days ago with the going from D to C to B, and here's where the VFP filter fired. So that was, and on the same day you can see there was an effort to rise signal on heavy volume. See the heavy volume here? And there were two signals that day, and they always show up here. Just if you click on that, high volume up bar closing on the high indicates strength, effort to rise, bullish sign. Once again, if I were looking intraday, I would change to the industry group and see which stocks are showing up today, and then you can see this one's been showing up a couple of days here. Right here is where it met the criteria. On the same day there was a signal. Vico's had several accumulation bars here. As you can see, it went from D to C, several signals, and it followed through. And where it really follows through, and this is generally the case, is where the group turns up. That's why I try to put these group lines in all of these charts, because they're really critical to movement, and you're not going to find this anywhere else. It's powerful stuff. Okay, and then once again, just remove the filter, hold the shift key, click on that. This is a large group. You could sort on this, the AD, and the ones I would pay attention to if you do this, I would be looking at the Bs and the Cs. I wouldn't mess with the Ds and Es unless you want to, but These are the ones, here that generated a signal back here. That's a little $2 stock. Don't know what happened here. Okay, let's look at this one. This is an example of a cheap stock that is given, it was C, accumulation clear back here. Then it went to B, B, A. It stayed green throughout this period here. And you can see that the Chaikin was rising and the stock was forming, for the most part, higher lows and higher highs. Came down here, pretty much tested that low. And then when it took off again, let's see, this, well, it didn't. It remained in B accumulation, and then all the conditions were met right here on that effort to rise, and it's been moving up since. So this one was giving several accumulation signals along the way, and it's risen. Let's see if I can do this from this point here. Oops, wrong thing. Sorry about that. I just want the single line. Take it from there to current price. 42.3% over that time period. I'm certainly not saying you're going to catch these, but I think it's going to give us some insight into these stocks that are starting to move, and you can catch them early. Okay. Here are the last VBA signal conditions and the number of days since they occurred. Boy, some of those are pretty old. I would only pay attention to the ones that are fairly recent, and that just doesn't seem right. Let's look at this chart. No volume. You need decent volume to get any kind of a reading that means anything. Okay, so let's go back, and I just want to check these groups, and let's see if anything is showing up on the downside. No, nothing is showing distribution today. Let me take a look and see what these markets are doing. Well, they're just kind of hanging there. Volume is still pretty light, so there's not a lot of selling pressure. Okay, let's see what else I want to show you. Okay, I want to show you, in case you're interested, how to combine a chart. I don't know if any of you build any of your own charts anymore or not. John, that OBV column isn't going to happen. Isn't this enough for you? Yeah, right. The bonds are strong, and that is worrisome. What are the financials doing? They're weak. That's not good. And the NASDAQ futures have fallen off 42 points. I mean, it looks like the candle's trading, the daily candle's trading toward the lower end of its trading range too. So until it breaks that 1950 level on the S&P, I'm not convinced personally. John, the greatest interest does not, the OBV was an overrated indicator in my opinion. In fact, who is the guy that invented it? He was one of the worst market timers ever. So I don't know. I just never used Joe Granville. And you can use you can use accumulation percent AD right here if you want to know where the greatest interest is. Use this, and it shows you strong, very strong accumulation. I hear somebody typing. George, is your mic on? Or Matt? Okay, where was I going? Oh, I want to show you the chart. Now what I did, and I don't think I'll use this. Let's find it. I want to talk about a stock that I did a video on, NHTC. Did anybody watch that, the latest video that I did on float volume turnover? Okay, good. Hey, Matt, uh, Jim Rezick is asking, is there a setting that can put some margin space at the top or the bottom of the charts in the price window?
There really isn't. I mean, we have some stuff that it does computes a scale automatically, but there isn't really any way to add extra space on the indicators. Pretty much every indicator has a custom built how much space it should have at the top. And the price one has the most complicated one since it tries to scale based on whether you're in a log chart and a whole bunch of other stuff. But there isn't any user controllable way to space the top and bottom of the charts.
Okay. Well, thanks. I didn't think there was.
Yeah,
Well,
sorry.
listen to this. John Velez says, Ron, I'm a newbie, and this program is just amazing. I've been making money almost every day. Thanks, Pastor John. John, you can do the next webinar, okay? He didn't answer me. Well, that's really good to hear, and we love to hear that. It is an amazing program, no question about it. And I'm talking about 1/1000th of what it can do right here. You can do anything you want with it. Anyway, let's go back to this program. Some of you watched that video, and if not, it's up there. And what I did is I just duplicated the chart. If you want to make changes in a chart, just always duplicate them and then play with them. And to duplicate them, you just go in here to choose Create View, click on a chart, and select Duplicate. Make sure you don't select Delete. And what I did is this is too noisy for me actually, but I just wanted to show you that you can add these indicators just by going into this area right here. Notice that this is blank because I didn't want anything to show up here on the screen in this area. That's why this area is black, because there's nothing in here. I didn't want anything to show up in there. But I just added the float turnover and the float turnover channel. And if you do that, make sure you put them at the top of the list. That's correct, isn't it, Matt? They have to go to the top.
Yeah.
Now
it's a new feature. You can change the drawing order, and we draw the indicators from the top down, and so whatever's first in the window will get drawn first. So put your indicators. You can move them around so that you can get the order right. Also on the window itself, you know how you set the name of the window to the empty thing? If you select that window and hit edit, select it and hit edit, there's a checkbox where you can turn off the label window, so you can leave a name and not have it show up. You don't have to make it an empty name. You can, but that way you can put a name there so it doesn't look so weird.
Okay, so it just won't show if I put a name in here.
Yeah, you can now put a name there and it won't show on the
Okay.
window.
All right, I didn't want that there.
Yeah, no, and
Okay,
obviously you
I
wouldn't
see.
want it.
Okay, good. I didn't know that after all these years, Matt.
Yeah, and that's been there for like the 90s. It was in
Wow.
the original, the first charting thing.
Well, I've been
Because
there since the 90s too.
yeah, well, they're
We're right
way
at
too
it.
long.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you sit in on these because, there's still stuff I'm
I catch
figuring out.
little things, and we make little changes too.
Well, okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Anyway, getting back, I may call on you again. Getting back to this, this puts a lot of stuff on a chart, but if you want to do it, just duplicate and then you won't screw anything up. You can't screw anything up. Or if you do, start over. But I wanted to point out that this was the most recent chart, one of them that I used on that float turnover period. And I'm going to bring up the alternate window. And at that point, it was right, I believe it was on this day. And the float turnover for that was 18 periods. And what I was pointing out is that there were all of these signals or alerts from VPA that were showing up, and this float was turning over rapidly. Now, in this instance, this blue line was going up, and while the stock was rising, and that indicates to me, and I think this is the correct interpretation, that people that were in this stock were hanging on to it. And then as it starts to move, notice that this blue line turns down because the volume is picking up. But when you see a stock rising like this, and I've seen several instances of this, with the blue line holding steady or actually going up, it means the volume is falling. So especially when you see multiple VPA indicators underneath the candles, that's a pretty good sign of accumulation. And look what happened with this stock when the market started to rally. This red line right here was the former turnover period, the high of the turnover period. Let me zoom in on this, see if I can look at this a little better. Okay, now see this flat red, let me take the gray box off too, maybe we can see this better. Edit indicator, float turnover. I'm going to turn the fill turnover box off. Now you can see the high of this float turnover period at that time, and that is considered resistance during that turnover period. And Matt, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this stuff, but you can see what happened. That high was taken out on this day, and then it came back down and reestablished this high at the top of this candle. And then it broke past that, which could be considered resistance at that point, as they were hanging on to it. And you can see that there were several bullish days, and it broke out of that float turnover period. I think when we combine, and this was Matt's intention, he put all these things in here. When we combine the VPA, the float turnover, the support and resistance lines, and the volume point of control all together, and let's bring up a volume point of control. By the way, I altered some of these charts and cleaned them up. I moved, I put this information over here in the left, and notice that the box is on top of the price. That is a function also of moving, well, this warehouse view is now down at the bottom. That's what this information is from, and it covers the price and group here, which I wanted to do. But what we have over here now, this is the average float turnover from the warehouse, and then you get the true float turnover by opening up the box here. And this will give you the true float turnover. Notice that it differs. This is the current volume float turnover. It differs from this number. This is the average over here. I just put it up there for a comparison purpose. But I made a few other changes to these charts too. They were minor. I'm just trying to clean them up. I put a white group line in here because I think it's very important always to have the group in here. And let me go back or down to my volume point of control, and we'll use the 90 and 30 period on this. So you can see that here was a volume point of control on the 30 period. If you look over the side, you'll see the 30 period. So this is the volume point of control, and notice that's where the accumulation was taking place. So there was a lot of volume support in here. And on the 90, it's about the same place. You can see it's about 20 here, and it's right around 20 here too. So there was a lot of volume accumulation support under here. But all of these charts, when you work together, it's a very powerful way to prospect. And as we go forward, I will be doing more of that, combining multiple charts, looking at stocks and indexes from a different perspective, using all of these tools that we have now. Well, it's getting pretty close to time. Let's take a quick look at the market. Any questions? Looks like we lost a few people, but not too many. Are there any questions before we take a look at the market? I guess not. Okay. Well, I'm very hopeful. Steve, you said, have you updated? Okay, the blue line on the float turnover charts, let me bring that back up. Well, I need to bring a stock up. Let's bring Harley Davidson up. If you go open a chart up, Pat, and you right mouse click and you edit the current view and you look at the float turnover channel and you open that up, it's the turnover days line is what it's called. So it is going to go up as volume falls off. Now here it was going up as volume was falling off. That signals a lot of complacency to me. They weren't evidently too panicked about it. But notice that it started coming down on Harley Davidson here as it was basing, and the accumulation is picking up and it's starting to move up. But that's what it's called. And if you're unsure, okay, so Steve, you haven't updated yet. That's why, because I've made changes on these charts. And like I said, that's the advantage. I can send these things out whenever I make several changes rather than waiting several months. Okay, let's take a quick look here. And the E-minis are, well, they're down about 0.5%. The NASDAQ is much weaker. The future is down 1.14%, and the comp itself is down, where is it on here? Oh, it's down 1.06. And I'm going to peek over at another computer. But the volume is light, 1.75 billion. So, there's not a lot of selling pressure yet, but this is a little bit worrisome. See, the candle gapped open, and it penetrated down about 2/3 of the prior day's candle. That's certainly not a good sign. And the canaries, Tesla, let me get rid of this here. This is a daily chart of Tesla. You can see that it was moving up sharply. Gapped open. Anybody who chased the gap today is really underwater. Apple is down $1.90. They've got the security battle going on with the government. Amazon, which was up early, it gapped up. It is falling off too. So, it looks like a lot of these stocks may have been short covering, and they're falling again. Look at Google, down 2.13%. Netflix down, totally wiped out yesterday's candle. Almost, not totally, I said totally, but so anyway, as I pointed out earlier, until that 1950 level on the SPX is taken out, I'm certainly not convinced that this is more than an oversold rally with short covering. What's oil doing? It's down 1.46%. I think some supply numbers were released, and it reversed oil. Gold bonds are up 1.8%. That's a lot. And gold is up 2.15%, gold futures. So it's a very unsettled market. I mean, talk about what looks like a climax run, but it pulled back and looks like it wants to go again. So I wouldn't be just going out there and buying a bunch of long stock at this point. Like Ian said, it really needs to prove itself more than what we've seen so far. Three huge up days does not make a rally. By the way, I don't get IBD anymore. Did IBD confirm an uptrend yesterday? If anybody takes it, yes? Okay. Well, this is why you do your own analysis. You don't rely on anybody else. There's no reason to. You've got some of the best tools in the world right here. Look at Thinkorswim. I know a lot of you use TradeStation, but I'm really partial to Thinkorswim because I have my money there. But I like the platform. I quit working back in 91 or something. I tried trading options for a year. Didn't do very well at it because I didn't know what I was doing. But I was paying like $200 a month just for this data and a rudimentary charting package, and we get all this stuff now just by funding accounts for Thinkorswim. But the real analysis is done in HGSI. This is just the intraday stuff. I couldn't even begin to see what I see in HGSI using this program, but still, it's great. And do your own analysis. Don't rely upon anybody else, because most of those people, or some of those people that give all these market predictions, they're just guessing. They have a 50-50 chance of being right. Anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox for now. Any other questions, or have you seen enough?
Hey, I'd like to come in for a second.
Sure.
And tip my hat to Paul Reike. By the way, George asked last month if in fact I could provide a video in terms of how I keep that jolly old percent B stuff up to date. And Paul produced the beast.
Yeah, he
You
did.
need to go and look at that. And by the way, while I'm saying that, we have Facebook now with HGSI, and Paul has covered all of that, and Ron, by the way, and Chris White. They all participate in keeping you posted with new stuff. So thank you, Paul, for all you've done in terms of making that visible.
Is Paul on today?
Yes, should be. Brother Paul. Brother Paul.
Maybe he left.
No, he's gone gummy.
Well,
Oh,
we've been on a long time.
yeah, any rate.
Okay, well, thank you for attending. I hope this accumulation, acceleration, and deceleration help you find winners before they go too far. And combined with the VPA, I think it's another good tool. And if I make modifications, it's very easy for me to make those changes and put them up there for you. Okay, let's shut it down. Thanks a lot.